Hey everybody, it's Wednesday and we're here filming a video.
Yes.
That's got to mean it is our favorite time of the year coming up. That's right. Free Comic Book Day 2022 is just around the corner. It's this Saturday. So for anybody who uh, I guess doesn't work in the comic store, this is all we've been thinking about and talking about all week. There's a lot of prep that goes into this. So what we realize is that there is, I think, like nearly 50 books out this year. It's somewhere between 40 and 50
hmm
books. And every year we have people stand in line. They ask us in the line, what's that about? What's that about?
Yeah.
What's that about? If we can answer, I don't know, 10% of those people's questions today, we'll have done a great job. So before we start, though, I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And today it will be our goal to show off pretty much all the free comic book day books, with few exception. There was one or two our store didn't order. We just know which ones nobody really picks up, at least in our area. But we're going to tell you about the books. We're going to start with the most important ones we think the most people are going to want. Anything to add?
I don't think so. This is, yeah, like you said, this is always can be confusing when you come in here because there's not a whole lot of information about what these are. You just get the titles, all of that. And some of them, if you're reading a certain book, you may want to know, oh, this actually ties into what I'm reading. Or if you haven't read something, what's accessible. So there's a lot of different kinds of books. A lot of companies approach it a very different way.
Yeah, in fact, they have color coded it. So the Free Comic Book Day logo on books that are all ages, it is green.
Yes.
On books that are teen plus, it is blue. And I believe by teen plus, they mean 13 on, right when 12
Not
goes
12
into
teen.
right. And then the books where Free Comic Book Day is in red, those are adult. However, there's one mistake they made. There's a
Yeah.
book we're going to show later, Barbarous, that they put blue, meaning teen up, and it is not. It is adult.
Teens may want it, but no, it is. It is probably one of the more mature titles this year.
Yes. All right. So without further ado, let's get into some of the bigger books that are coming out.
Yeah, I'll start with DC's big book this year, which I'd say they have one kind of key main book, where Marvel has about two. That is Dark Crisis number. I think is this number? Yeah, number 0.
And really, this was kind of kicked off with that Justice League 75.
Yes.
With the Justice League seemingly dying that just happened.
Right. Yeah. So that's where this one actually kicks off. The art in this is done by Jim Chung, which is beautiful. Always great to see Jim Chung doing interiors. And what you'll find if you're not familiar with Free Comic Book Day comics, they're not quite a complete story. They're kind of just a taste to kind of get you pulled in, so you'll come and you'll actually buy the books later. So this one is a fun story that does take place quite a while after Justice League 75. And there is someone giving a group of school kids a tour of the Hall of Justice, which is really funny. Of course, you look in the background, there's all these kind of greatest hits from the Justice League. And it's a little bit of that fun story and kind of a recapping on who are the Justice League, how have they changed over the years. But you'll get to a point where maybe the tour guide is not as innocent as they seem. You'll have to read it. I love the reveal in this. There's a lot of Wally West in this. This also has a sneak preview of Dark Crisis number 1. It's preview pages you can read online, but it's nice to get them here in this book. And there is a history of the DC multiverse story that goes over Infinite Crisis and then kind of events that have happened all the way up until what spurs this on. So really fun book. I mean, if your store lets you pick up a few, I definitely recommend getting this one. Jim Chung's art is great. It's a complete story, but it's not nothing big where you have to read this one to read Dark Crisis. But for free, I definitely recommend picking up Dark Crisis number 0. Plus, there's just a bunch of kind of fun little extras in there that you get that they do in a lot of these free books.
Okay, so the first one I'm going to go over is probably one of Marvel's two big ones, like Andy was talking about. This is the Spider-Man Venom book. So it does have two different tales in it. One is a Spider-Man story, the other is a Venom. It also has this little Avengers all-out tale at the end. But let me start with the Spider-Man story. So in it, it's kind of a comical story, which I like. Spider-Man, he's either making you laugh or terrible things are happening to him. It's one or the other with Peter Parker. And we need some laughs after that new Amazing Spider-Man #1,
Oh,
as
yeah.
dark as that was. So in this, Peter Parker is fighting he gets in a fight with some evil mailbox. I kid you not.
Wow.
So not like the one out in front of your house, but the one that they would have on the street in New York City, like the big metal one.
Yeah, like a big blue box or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. And the thing, it's like a D&D mimic or something. Like it's trying to eat some guy's hand. It's hard to tell if it's a symbiote. What is it? Hard to tell, but it's a really funny, sort of half issue of him fighting this thing. And of course, it has weapons. It fires its bolts out at him. And but who's behind it? That's the more important part. Behind now, I don't know for certain, but it seems like it is a team up of two villains. One is Chasm, the new seemingly villainous persona of Ben Reilly, and the other is Madeline Pryor. So Ben Reilly as Chasm is teaming up with Madeline Pryor, who used to be Goblin Queen, which is funny because Spider-Man just had Queen Goblin.
There's got to be a joke in there.
Yeah, they're getting it ready. They're getting that joke prepared. But anyhow, this is leading into a storyline called Dark Web. That's how it ends, And so the next story, it's a Venom tale, and this is going to show you both Eddie Brock and where he is. He's in that weird realm that Meridius runs, that new King in Black villain guy, and Eddie wants to know what's going on with his son. So then you get to see where Dylan is. And it's a glimpse of the future he's offered. And in this future, Dylan is going to team up with Normie Osborn. And Normie Osborn is going to get another symbiote. And it looks like he's going back to being Red Goblin.
Nice.
So, so Red Goblin and Dylan Brock Venom sort of swinging away together. So that's a pretty big deal. And then there is a little snippet at the very end of a new Avengers thing called Avengers All Out. It's just a few pages, hard to really gauge what it's about. Just another Avengers tale coming up. So I think really the Spider-Man and the Venom stuff was more the big deal. Both really good stories. I recommend if your store offers, several, like we're giving away 3 free comics, double to anyone who gets to our store in the first hour. We're opening at 10 a.m. So if you're there from 10 to 11, you get 6 comics. And then we're also doing things, if you post on social media, if you make a purchase, you get 2 more each way. So with all those choices, you're going to want to grab one of these. This is one of the must-haves.
I almost was waiting for you to grab a variant. It's like, this is weird. No variants this week.
No variants.
There's
on
no
this show.
Ron Lim variant or connecting trading card variant.
Todd Knock headshots across the board.
Okay, so next up is probably the other big one in kind of the big 3 that we've been over that I think a lot of your main superhero readers are going to want to grab. This is Avengers XMen Eternals Judgment Day #0, and this is kind of kicking off this big event.
Can't these heroes just get along?
I know. Marvel...
time for the villains to strike.
Yes, there no more villains. They're all heroes, but they also all fight each other. But this is a really cool issue. I really like this one. So Marvel events kind of take multiple forms. Sometimes they come out of an ongoing series, kind of like King in Black. They start simmering in one book and they spill over into others. Sometimes they kind of just come out of the blue. The issue 1 sets up the entire event. I've got to say what I really like about this one is this, if it is kind of what it's teasing, is a culmination of stuff that the X-Men have been doing with Krakoa, where they've actually been hiding the fact they can bring characters back to life. That's why Cyclops had to come back as Captain Krakoa, because they publicly saw Cyclops die and they had to create this persona so they didn't think that he could come back to life. Well, what happens when the Eternals, the beings whose job is to protect pretty much the Earth, humankind, from deviation? They don't like uh, uh, for one thing, the deviants, but anything that kind of strays humanity from the path that they're on. What happens when they learn that, hey, maybe mutants can actually be brought back to life? That sounds like a deviation. So that sets up a conflict there. And then also we get a flashback to, they've been doing that like Avengers 10,000 BC or whatever, where Odin is one of the main characters in it. And it's Odin and, what's his, uh, Uranos, I believe is his name, the Eternal, and they are discussing a life form, kind of this like monkeyish life form that is possibly grown or adapted to have psychic powers. They're having a discussion of, should we let this grow or should we kind of snuff it out at this point because it is a deviation. So it's a really good setup for this event that I didn't know too much about, but I feel like the conflict in this is actually really solid for that to happen. So I really enjoyed this, and this is probably my favorite one that I read. I just thought, I don't know, the art was great. Dustin Weaver's art. It's written by Kieran Gillen. So definitely a good one for that. But probably a big reason people are going to be picking this up is the second story in it is about Brielle, the daughter of Blade. So this character was supposed to come out years ago now.
And so this is going to be her first appearance.
This is her first appearance. It's supposed to come out years ago. They teased it. They had the concept art. Like, I think it was even solicited. And something happened. It got cut. And all these years later, they're finally bringing this character in. So we get a short couple of page story of her tangling with some vampires at a video game tournament that's very amusing, very weird, very like teen and fun. So you'll definitely want it for that. The first appearance of Daughter of Blade. And then lastly, there is another X-Men story that has a pretty shocking ending. It's just kind of like the one you talked about with Madeline Pryor. Some weird crossovers across the kind of title genres. There's a big one in this that involves Myra and someone else from a different line of Marvel stories that is pretty shocking. So definitely also recommend Avengers, X-Men Eternals, Judgment Day, and especially if you're going to read the event going forward, this gives you a nice little primer to the events that set up that crossover event.
So back to Blade's daughter, you may or may not know this, but was she his daughter before he was a vampire?
It's hard to tell. There is a thing where she doesn't know that she's Blade's daughter.
Okay.
Her mom does. And apparently there was a time when she was born where Blade basically said, you can protect her. You've got her. So I almost wonder if he was a vampire at that point, because it kind of seemed like the my life's too dangerous type thing. But it's not confirmed. There's a picture of Blade.
That would make her sort of like a quarter vampire.
Yeah, quarter vampire. She's can walk perfectly fine in the Daywalker.
I mean, better to have some in you than nothing.
Yeah.
In the Blade universe, in the Marvel universe.
She just tastes blood. She's like, it's all right.
Okay, so I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Free Comic Book Day. This was really cool. So I wanted to check this out because, I just read Last Ronin 5. And I had heard rumors that there might be some Last Ronin stuff in this. And I can say, no, there is none. There is no Last Ronin in this whatsoever. However, the story is done by Tom Waltz with art by Sophie Campbell. And I wanted to show the first page. It is done in an homage style, just like this cover is, to the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So the first Ninja Turtles, it starts out, and Leonardo's like, oh, my name's Leonardo, and I took a wrong turn, and now us turtles, we have our backs up against the wall, and our enemies are here, and it's this great fight scene. This begins that way too, except it's not like in the past. It's now it's sort of in a little bit in the future, because this is the beginning of this new Armageddon big story arc they're doing with Rat King.
Yep.
And I really like how they parallel it, and the art is really, really good. So it's just a snippet of that that goes right along the lines of, hey, you know that first issue and where we all started? Well, we're here again, but what has happened to the world this time? It's not like way in the future like Last Ronin. It's just a little bit past where the current storyline is. So that's going to kind of be the, I guess, issue 0 to this Armageddon plotline that they're starting. So really cool. And then halfway through the comic, it ends, and then they reprint the first bunch of pages from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
They
So
want you to know, like,
compare.
look, this is what
Right.
we're doing.
Yeah, you could compare it. Plus, I mean, it's just so cool to read pages from the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again. So another great one. If you're a Turtles fan, I highly recommend picking that one up as well.
Okay, another one that I was surprised how fun it was. This is Archie, or the best Archie comic ever. That's a strong statement. Can he back it up? This is actually really fun. So this is kind of a... I'm not sure if this is going to be reprinted later, if this are like exact pages taken out of it, but they are doing a new the best Archie comic ever. It's going to be an anthology book that is going to have like different stories from different kind of Archie multiverses. Archie's been in a lot of situations. He's been the superhero. Was it Pure Heart? That he's fought different kinds of monsters. There's a little story from each of these kind of realities that's really cool, and it kind of weaves those all together in a big story. So I really like this one. It's got Christmas, it's got a love story, it's got superhero, it's got horror, it's got everything. I think that's why they're calling it the best Archie comic ever, because it's got something for everybody. So I really like this one. I thought this one was really fun. The art's great. And that is the best Archie comic ever, in my opinion.
So this doesn't have new material, or wait, I'm grabbing it the wrong one. So this does not have new material. This is Marvel Voices for Free Comic Book Day 2022. So I've read all the Marvel Voices stuff. Mm-hmm. They've been doing it for quite some time now. And so I was wondering, I was like, will they have one new story and all the rest reprints? No, these are all just reprinted stories, but the Marvel Voices, they were anthology style to begin with. Mm-hmm. And I don't think most people didn't get them all. So this is a good one to reprint. You know, it starts with a Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur story. We have one with Wave from New Agents of Atlas. Just tons of characters you're going to recognize. I mean, look at the cover. So if you're interested in the Marvel Voices tales, this is one to pick up. Just know if you've already got them all, it's just a selection from all the different ones put together.
Anthologies work well that way. You can kind of chop them up and put them together, and they're still a complete book.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll see this probably every Free Comic Day hereafter, just with different selections that they took.
Okay, next up, this is probably the most all ages book I've found, and I'm not sure if this was technically a Free Comic Book Day book. It doesn't say it on there, but it came out around the same time, so I think most stores are gonna like put it out with it. But this is fun if you have kids who like Spidey and his amazing friends on Disney Plus, the little shorts. They're going to like this. It's got a fun first page that tells you how to read comics. It's got coloring pages, but it's also got, I actually got comic in there, but it's large panels, easy to read. So if you have young kids, I think this is probably the best one for them. Plus, I mean, it's great that it's also Spider-Man, Gwen, and Miles. Really cool.
They've got to have some really, really strong necks for those big heads, though.
Swinging around.
I know. Okay, so this is from Skybound, and it has 3 stories in it. There's the main one with Clementine. Then there is Everyday Hero Machine Boy. And then there's this Sky Serpent Heiress story. So Skybound has gone into doing original graphic novels, and all of these are getting original graphic novels in the coming months. If you've read Skybound X, they all were sort of introduced there, but this is another sort of introduction to them. So in the Clementine story, like a lot of Walking Dead stuff, and by the way, this is Teen Plus. This is the blue label, so people 13 and older can get this. It's not your AMC Walking Dead here. But in Clementine's story, she comes across another group of people who are together, another tribe, and they're going to help her out. They're going to give her a new prosthetic. You know, she has her leg problem and everything. And but what's cool about it, she meets these people, and you get to remember what it's like being around Clementine and just the way she thinks and all. But at the end, it does like a little recap of here are friends she's going to meet in this upcoming graphic novel. You get just a couple panels. Here are rivals, and here are some of her challenges. You know, I thought that was probably the most interesting part. Everyday Hero Machine Boy is a lot more whimsical.
Yeah.
It's a much more coming of age hero tale. So, you know, he's a machine, but then his master, she's a human, and she's trying to teach him to be tough because he doesn't act very robotic. He actually is very emotional for a robot. So, and then the last one, the Sea Serpent Heiress, really great art.
I was about to say the art in that is fantastic.
That is the one that drew me the most. Actually, I thought the Clementine one would, which that was good, but the Sea Serpent Heiress one, it's set on the high seas. It's set in this like world that you can tell they spent a lot of time building. They're going to be fighting huge sea serpents. I mean, how much cooler does it get? Just, you know, flip right to the end. Check out the art on that one. So that's what you can expect in the Skybound offering for Free Comic Book Day.
And that is a thick book too.
It is. It's definitely the thickest of. It might be the thickest Free Comic Book Day book I've seen in the last bunch of years.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, next up for me, we've got Crypto and the Super Pets. So this is a tie-in with the upcoming movie of the same name. This is another great all-ages one. This is another one from DC. They have a few this year. Not as many as usual, but some really cool ones. This has just fun stories of Crypto teaming up with Superman, Ace the Bat Hound teaming up with Batman. You have Chip, the Green Lantern Squirrel, teamed up with Jessica Cruz. You have PG, who is the Wonder Pig, teamed up with Wonder Woman. It's really fun. And then it's got a preview of an upcoming graphic novel that's going to involve Crypto and the Super Pets. So another one for all ages. We always have a ton of kids come through here. And sometimes there's been recent years that's like, I don't know what's the most kid-friendly. They did a great job this year of having not just one book for kids, but a selection. So you can come with your kids and they will find stuff they enjoy too.
Okay, so from DC, sort of a lesser known one is this Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. So speaking of graphic novels, DC is also getting into the original graphic novel game. And this is just a beginning part to an original graphic novel of the same name. And it's about an alien, so it's a bit of a Superman story. You know, Superman's an alien who's stranded on a planet. Well, so is this character, but he arrived on the planet a bit earlier, or I shouldn't really say he. The alien has taken the form of a high school boy, but the alien is much more than that, as you can see. And they're trying to hide this from all their friends. And their friends, not all of them are very accepting individuals. So when you're really truly this underneath, you know, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. So that is sort of what's going on with Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. If you think the cover art looks your style, the interiors are definitely like this. This is a teen plus book. I don't know if it's going to appeal to every adult because it is definitely high school drama, but with a mix of a little bit of Steven Universe, a little bit of like Aliens, but not the movies, just, you know, like Aliens in the Sky.
Not Ridley Scott's
not
Aliens.
Ridley Scott's Aliens. You know, because I was reading, I was like, this is the sort of thing I'd be more interested in back when I was probably closer to my high school age. You know, now I don't know how much so, but that's generally what the book is about. So.
And next up, we have one from Aftershock, based on their hit series, very highly spec'd on, that Bunny Mask. This is Bunny Mask Tales. So this is set in the universe of Bunny Mask, but it's got, instead of being like a straight-through narrative, it's short stories in this universe where this Bunny Mask character kind of comes to people. It's very horror-driven, pretty dark. It's a teen plus. I would say
That seems a little borderline.
it's
Based
on the
on
high end of teen plus.
just the blood on the cover.
Yeah, and just the subject matter. There's just some stuff that's not as it's not graphic. It's just kind of thematically very dark and very twisted. But it was a great read. I actually really got into it. I thought the Bunny Mask series was really good. So if you're reading that or you want to try it out, this is a great one to grab.
So another one along the same lines in that it's an indie book that was received very well is Nottingham. So Nottingham is doing a free comic book day book this year. Now notice it is in red at the top of my fingers. So that means this is an adult book, and it is. It's more because there's cursing in it. You know, there's some F-bombs dropped and such. But Nottingham, what it has to do with is it's the sheriff of Nottingham. He's played more like a police detective in his time. And there is, at least in the original book, there was a serial killer who was killing tax collectors.
Mm-hmm.
So is it the Merry Men, or is it somebody even more sinister? Now, I don't think this links in with that. I think this is a continuation from after that. But that's just the general realm that you'll find yourself in Nottingham. And let's hope that that is just some red wine that he is offering us on the cover.
Okay, also coming out is for fans of Stranger Things, just in time for the new season. This is Stranger Things. Does it have a subtitle? I don't think so. But this was a fun story. It's just a little one and done story where some of the Stranger Things kids go to a horror movie festival, but 11, of course, it goes, and she may run into some real horrors there. So that was a fun story, and there's also one, a little short story in the Resident Alien universe, if people are watching that show. If you've never read Resident Alien, it's really fun. There's a few pages of that in there as well. But I always appreciate when they have original content, and I believe the Stranger Things story is original for this free comic book day book.
Okay, so Avatar: The Last Airbender is also doing a free comic, and there is a secondary backup story, which is Legend of Korra. I'm a fan of both of those shows, and I will not argue with people about which one is better. Some people are very strong about that. So the Avatar story is pretty neat. It is a story of Aang's unfreezing day, and I don't mean the day he was unfrozen, but like they consider that his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the beginning of it, because it's actually, this is a preview to what's going to be a longer original trade paperback on that they celebrate his unfreezing day. The Korra story, I believe, is original to this. It's shorter, but and it's a lot more simple. But basically, they're pranking each other on the beach. It is the cast of Legend of Korra just pranking each other on the beach. The story,
shoving their heads in sand and feeding them to sharks. Just all the fun things you do with your friends.
with all your bending powers, just abusing them.
Okay, next up is one of my favorite video games of years past. This is Bloodborne. This is also a mature title. Even though I feel like this is mature just because the game is mature, there's not too much kind of mature-ish content in there other than it's just kind of horrifying. But this, I believe, has a segment of an upcoming story that is called The Lady of the Lanterns. It's written by Cullen Bunn. And it's very light on dialogue, but it's still very cool, very atmospheric. It gives you a good introduction to the Bloodborne universe. It tells you a description of all the volumes that have come before. And there's some cool concept art in the back. Plus, that cover is just really scary, too. But if you're a fan of the game, that's a good one to grab.
Okay, so check this out. This is a green label, so it is all ages. This is Hollow, you know, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, like the Headless Horseman, for instance. I was kind of surprised to see that somebody is making an all-ages tale that has to do with the Headless Horseman.
It's hard to get past just the idea of it, of a man who got his head chopped off.
Yeah, but I did read this one, and I do think it's fine for kids, as long as you know your kid. You know your kid's not going to have nightmares and we're going to wake you up, just based on the theme of this. But it's set in modern day in a town called Sleepy Hollow. And in the town, they have embraced the idea of the Headless Horseman. They don't believe in him, but like it's the school's mascot. They're all about it. They think that the whole story is awesome. Well, this kid moves to town. His name is Izzy Crane. And Izzy Crane gets like chased by a ghost that appears to be the Headless Horseman. So this again is just a snippet of an upcoming work, but it's all ages. So if you're a horror fan and you want your kid to grow up to maybe be a horror fan, and you can talk about the horror stuff you like, this is probably a good starting point, a good jump on point for that.
I think a lot of that is not true, but if we have any viewers that live in like upstate New York, because there is a Sleepy Hollow, New York, and I think they do really like embrace the Sleepy Hollowness of it, of the Washington Irving story. So pretty cool. I always want to visit. Next up, I have, man, what a time to be a Sonic fan. You actually have really good movies and really good comics. This is Sonic the Hedgehog. I think this one a lot of people are going to grab. So many Sonic fans out there. This is a really fun story about Sonic and Tails going to visit Knuckles on his little island, and he had called him there because there's some strange rumblings, like little mini earthquakes going on, and he needs the help of Sonic and Tails to figure out what it is. Spoiler, it may be Dr. Robotnik. I mean...
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Actually, this is less movie, more like video game or animated show based. But I thought it was really fun. Sonic stuff is just fun, lighthearted, great stuff. And it does a pretty extensive recap of all the issues leading up to issue 50 that's coming out soon. Like, multiple dense pages of like snippets of panels and dialogue and voiceover stuff that was like, okay, I bet you really could get caught up and read issue 50 and know what's going on. So I think that's another really good one to pick up on. And I would say all ages, but I think adults will want this, teens will want this, and young kids will want this. Yeah. Sonic spans generations.
For sure. So. Absolutely. Okay, so I read this one. It is The Bone Orchard Mythos Prelude, and it is adult. It's not super duper adult, except for the fact that it is scary, and there is some sort of background, very, very light nudity.
So silhouette-y.
Let me explain. So this is a new horror one by the team of Jeff Lemire and the artist he works with a lot, Sorrentino. You might be able to tell even from the cover. So in it, there's a writer. Writers writing about writers. And he has gone to a house by himself to finish his writing, and because he's having marital problems. But when he's there, his dog runs off property to this very scary house that's across the lake. And in this house, it's not exactly abandoned. In fact, there's this like really scary naked red person in it who is very creepy. I guarantee, read this, you're gonna get creeped out. I got creeped out. It's pretty cool if you like horror stuff. That's probably all I need to say on it.
And it's Jeff Lemire.
Yes, I mean, it's Jeff Lemire.
It's a sure bet.
Yeah, we were gonna kind of read some of these and flip through some, and this was one I was like, let's see what it's about, and then I read the whole thing because, Lemire's writing will just draw you right in.
My next one is the one we kind of talked about early on. This is Barbaric #1. So this is a reprint of Vault's Barbaric by Michael Mordecai. And when this came out, I really liked this series. It was only 3 issues long. There's going to be a one-shot coming up and then another mini-series. It had big success at Vault. But the thing you need to know about this is there's a blue label for teens on here, but I'd say this has some of the most violence and most nudity out of any of the books. So
it is not blue label. This was a mistake. I mean, it's been admitted. This is a mistake. It was supposed to be red label. So whether you're a parent or a person who just doesn't want to read mature stuff, or even more important, if you're a store owner and you're getting these comics out and somehow you're watching our show, don't let kids have this one. Yeah. You're going to get a parent mad.
If you don't know anything about it, though, it's really cool. It's about this barbarian who's been cursed to do good. As much as he doesn't want to, he has to do good. And he has this talking axe that gets drunk off of blood. that's just sarcastic and terrible. So real humorous. It's like a funny Conan over the top action. But I do recommend it, just not if you're under 18.
Okay, so this next one is really neat. I read a good bit into this.
The cover on that was really cool.
Okay, so yeah, so this is Tokyo Pop's one. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary, actually. But this is Guardian of Fukushima. So this is partly a fictional narrative, but it's based around a real life person and what they did. So back in 2011, there was a tsunami off the coast of Japan. You know, this is real,
Mm-hmm.
and it messed up a nuclear facility really badly in a way that they had to evacuate people away from different places, including Fukushima, because the radiation levels were going up to just really, large degrees. Well, this one person who this story is about, he used to be a farmer. The place was like a farming community. Well, he noticed as people were leaving, they were leaving all their pets. They were leaving their cats, their dogs, their pigs, everything. So he wouldn't leave. He's a big animal lover, and he stayed to feed these animals who, were going to die without being taken care of. And so this is about him, but it's also told in like a fictional way. So you'll have to read it yourself to see. But the cool thing is this guy, he is still there. I'm not kidding. He is there. You can look him up right now. He's been there the whole time. And no one's allowed to live there. He is living there against the law. He is taking radiation at levels 16 times more than a person should take every single day. And he won't leave because he's still feeding all these animals. So,
Wow.
yeah, like real life super heroics. So anyway, after I read about that, I read the whole thing. It's really great, really good art. So that's one you might want to pick up that I doubt anybody knew
I was
that
about
much
to say, I
about
bet
it.
that's one that people would see and be like, oh, that's an interesting cover, but not know anything about, and maybe miss out on a really cool story
Yeah,
by just not being able to tell what it is.
yeah.
Okay, speaking of things, we weren't speaking about things people know about, but one that may be familiar. This is Valiant's 2022 Free Comic Book Day offering. This has a couple of little short stories in it. We have Bloodshot. We have a preview of the book that's already out, Armor Clad, I believe is the name of it. And then there is a Ninjak story and Archer and Armstrong. So there's quite a few stuff in there, plus some previews of upcoming titles they'll be having as well. So if you never tried out a Valiant book, here's a free way to try it out and see if you like it. And I think some of this new stuff looks really good.
Find out why Bloodshot is always smoking from his back.
Oh yeah,
Just lots of pictures of Bloodshot smoking from his back. Okay, so this is from 10 Ton Press. This is called 10 Ton Press Presents 10 Ton Tales. It's just different tales by them. This is Teen Plus. But the one I actually flipped right to is there is a rock and roll biography on the Foo Fighters. So I like the Foo Fighters all right. I saw their new horror movie this year. It was better than I expected. I do recommend it. But anyway, I flipped to that, and it's the beginning of a upcoming rock and roll biography on the Foo Fighters. And it starts, at least in this, right when Dave Grohl has learned about Kurt Cobain's death. So it's pretty dark. It starts with him hearing the news. It shows what he was doing, like what that does to him, the aftermath of that. So I just didn't want anyone to miss out on that because, I mean, honestly, this is one I might have gone to a store and just saw the 10 Ton Tales and said, now I'll get, Spidey and Venom. But the Dave Grohl rock and roll biography of Foo Fighters part in this is really good.
They kind of missed out not putting Dave Grohl on the cover. I think that would have really caught people's eye.
I kind of agree, yeah. So.
Okay, next up I have, this is Equilibrium. And what is funny about this one is, if you've been to a free comic book day for, past many years, there is always the staple of a new Captain Canuck story. The Canadian superhero, that is this book this year, but it's kind of a team-up book, and it's written by Keith Champagne, who's a really great guy, great inker, great writer. So if you want to try something out, something Canadian, you might want to check that one out.
Okay, so this one, I barely got into this one at all, but I don't think I need to. I think the people who want it know they want it. It is a Buffy. So this is Teen Plus, and it is celebrating 25 years of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Of course, there's a new Buffy series going on now where Willow is the new Vampire Slayer, but that's not what this is about. So if you like Buffy stuff, just wanted you to know that they have their selection for Free Comic Book Day out this year, as usual.
Another one that people may want to pick up. We always have a lot of people who come in and maybe they don't read regular comics, but they read manga. There's always some manga offerings, which is really cool. Like this Kaiju number 8. This just reprints in like comic size. I think just the first chapter of volume 1 of Kaiju 8. But still really cool. And it has the first little chapter of Sakamoto Days, which is a new very popular manga that has come out. And if it's anything like the One Punch Man Free Comic Book Day from a few years ago, that is a very highly sought after book.
Yeah, because that's first One Punch Man in comics and also first My Hero Academia in American comics.
So all these are pretty much the first in American comics versions of these things. So if they end up taking off, these are usually kind of under-ordered because it's U.S. comic book stores ordering manga, so they may not know. So these are always a great one to grab and just to get a cool preview of some great stories.
Us old school comic owners, store owners, we look at it and we're like, wait, no Batman on it? Pass.
No, thankfully you are not like those
and
owners.
They printed it backwards too.
This is a misprint.
Okay.
I'm going to write into the letters column and tell them.
Yep. So check this out. It's Neverlanders by Tom Taylor. That's right. Who's written tons of great DC comics that I read all the time. This is good. It's got Tom Taylor's great sense of dialogue. He's really good at having different characters all sound different. This story starts out where this one kid is taken in by a group of homeless kids who all live in this trailer, but they're like happy homeless, like they have each other.
Like
and
the
they
Lost
have
Boys
stuff.
Or something.
Well, that's kind of where it goes. Like they take him in, but it turns out that really he has a secret, and because of them being so nice, he ends up taking them to Neverland. He's like, this is a lot better than living in your trailer, right? But then they get attacked by pirates.
Not as cool.
Yeah. But I mean, check out the art. Look at the different costumes they're wearing. I think there's something's going to come of this. Like, there is some really good character design in this. There are some strong characters in this. I read it, and right away I was like, this is cool. I hope they come out with a lot more of it. I will definitely order it from my shop. So check out this one, Neverlanders.
Yeah, Tom Taylor's had a Netflix show. He had that, I forgot what it's called. It's about like divers. It's like a family of like deep sea explorers. So he's got ties. So his very creative, like all ages stuff probably has first rights or something at Netflix.
Yeah, you might be right.
Okay, next up is our yearly edition of 2000 AD. This collecting, I'm not sure if it's a reprint of a more recent Judge Dredd universe story, but I know there are about 2 or 3 other reprints in here of classic stories. Great to see like some Alan Davis art in there. Really good stuff. So if you're a Judge Dredd fan, there's another one of those for you.
Okay, so the next one I'm going to go over is the Rema Chronicles has a free comic book day offering. So Rema Chronicles is already out. This is a graphic novel series that already has won a lot of popularity. It is all ages. That's why the green band's up there. It's about a girl who is trying to find her missing father who disappeared. He was doing research into this tree in their neighborhood that let out this like strange mist. And in trying to discover him, she ends up in another world, this sort of crazy magical realm that often gets attacked by another realm that needs its resources. So they're kind of in a war. And that's the general premise. This is not original, though. This is right from the graphic novel Rema Chronicles. Like it takes parts right out of it. It doesn't start you right at the beginning. It kind of drops you in. But I think it's a good sampler to see if you like it, because the full-on graphic novel is pretty popular.
Okay, next up is another manga title. Well, actually two. We have this double with Blackguard and One Dance. So if you are a fan of either one of those, you want to get this. It's always fun to have these flip ones. But it's, I believe, flip and backwards. So, because it's manga, so your brains will be going all different kinds of directions reading this one. You'll get halfway through it and it's upside down, but also reading the right way. But, yep, another great manga title.
Okay, so another that you can choose is Red Sonja, She Devil with a Sword.
I've seen that before.
Yes, the first half of this reprints the issue number 1 of her 1977 series, Red Sonja, She Devil with a Sword. So that's what most of this is. It's actually the first 3/4 of this. But then at the end, they do some updated stuff from her newer Dynamite books. Mm-hmm. It's a little tale where it hardly has any dialogue. It's just her racing through, fighting all kinds of things. It's kind of cool to see like the old style, the old art, the old dialogue, and then sort of updated style. So if you're a Red Sonja fan, this is another one, and it is teen plus. It doesn't get too dark or too bloody or anything like that. I think that that teen plus is fine for this one.
Then we have Doctor Who 2022 Free Comic Book Day special. And this, I believe, is kind of kicking off the new run of Doctor Who, or at least part of it, with the fugitive Doctor, the Doctor that is the one that the regular Doctor has forgotten about, that was from a few regenerations back. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, there's one for you. Also, I feel like this one is a little bit nicer stock on this cover as well.
Okay, so this is the Inkle universe. So if you want something sci-fi, if you want something mind-bending, this is it. Now, it's a red logo, so it is mature. This is from the mind of poet, writer, artist Alejandro Jodorowsky. So I first knew of Jodorowsky from his insane mind-bending movies. But of course, he was a guy who was originally going to do Dune. Mm-hmm. His version of Dune never made it. There's actually a movie on what his Dune would have looked like. He took a lot of the ideas from the movie he was going to make a Dune, a lot of his own ideas, and created this universe called the Meta Barons universe. And the Inkle, this is part of that. They're actually making a movie about the Inkle. That is coming up in the next year or so. It's pretty much a done deal. So if you like some sci-fi, I definitely would recommend picking this up as long as you are 18 or over.
Okay, then we have this one that is Fuzzy Baseball, Greatest Hits.
That's about as far from Jodorowsky as you can get.
Mm-hmm. Fuzzy Baseball. Everybody loves animals playing baseball. So this is another all ages one. If you have kids that like baseball, it's a little bit more sports theme, but with a little sci-fi twist. Not just the animals, but there is also some robot baseball players. So just a fun one. There is a fun page that all looks like trading cards of all these animals, like what their baseball cards would look like. I thought that was real fun.
Okay, so we talked about how Barbaric was put under a blue label, but it should have been red. This Donald Duck, I feel like, so they put this Teen Plus as blue label. I feel like this was a mistake and it should have been green. I actually flipped through this. It's fine. I mean, this is reprinting old Donald Duck cartoons. But to me, even more importantly, is it's got Scrooge McDuck, old Scrooge McDuck comics in this. I said cartoons. I meant comics. So it starts out with a Scrooge tale as well. I grew up watching DuckTales. I mean, I grew up watching all the old cartoons, but DuckTales was one of my favorites. So you got to pick up your Scrooge McDuck comic, and I think it would be fine for all ages, personally.
Is there cartoon violence? Someone hit somebody in the head with a mallet?
I mean, maybe that's why. Something like that. That old-style cartoon where they see, stars around their head.
They get a bump on their head and stuff. Yeah, who knows? Okay, next up we have, I believe, Trace. I think that's how you say it. But this is a Netflix original anime. I believe last year there was one of these as well, but this is another Red Label one. Very interesting art. It jumps between a couple of different art styles. I believe it's all the same artist, but it changes up. It's goes from semi-realistic to very high contrast. And yep, if you have watched the show and you like it, there's one for that.
Okay, so if you've been around any kids in the last, like, I don't know, 10 years, I'm sure you know about this. Captain Underpants by Dave Pilkey, who is maybe like one of the most prolific and rich writers of our time.
Up there with Shakespeare and Dickens.
Yeah, so, we get to see as a retailer, I check out metrics on what graphic novels sell the most, comics sell the most. This stuff outsells everything like crazy, and the only reason my store isn't full of it is because I think everybody just gets it from Amazon, unfortunately.
Yeah. Target has them.
Yeah,
Has them.
the big box stores. But anyway, highly popular. Kids love them. I think at this point, kids that love them are probably like in their teens now. They might have moved on to other
I read
things.
Captain Underpants.
Okay.
I was maybe a little bit older, but I still read it.
There we go. So, but anyway, so they are offering this. It is all ages. So, Captain Underpants, Dog Man, Cat Kid. It's all there. Dav Pilkey rolling around in his money. That's why he's able to do free comic book day books. He can absorb that very easily.
Next up is one that this is actually a reprint, but of a very fun book. This is Jonna and the Impossible Monsters. This is by Chris Samney, famed artist that's worked on Captain America and many other things. But this is an all-age story. It's really fun, adventure. So if you did not read it when it came out, you can get a free version of it right here.
Okay, so for Free Comic Day, they're offering this Winchester Mystery House 100-Year Curse. So there was already this Winchester Mystery House comic that came out earlier this year, maybe late last year. And the Winchester house is a real house. It was built by, I can't remember her name, Sarah or Mary Winchester, one of those names. And, she inherited the fortune from the gunmaker. She kept having them build onto this house. Like, just build and build and build and build. This is a real thing. It's supposed to be one of America's most haunted houses. And so now they're doing comics about it. So if you like your horror to be based a little bit in reality, at least in that some person built a really, really big, crazy house, this might be the book for you.
Okay, next up we have Max Meows Cat on the Street. A comic spectacular. Very much in the vein of a Dave Pilkey. If you have kids, they probably know about this as well. It was already a book, but if they recognize the character and are fans, it's a fun book. Plus, this has the nicest cover stock of any of the books this year. This is a glossy cover stock. They did not skimp.
Yeah, that's better than most like regular comics you pay like $5 or $6 for.
Yeah, this is very nice. So just a quality book too if you pick it up.
Okay, so here is one that is all ages. It is several stories. It is carriers, which have to do with these carrier pigeons who have guns and that fly around like warring. Then there's this Bjorn story. It's just sort of like a cutesy Viking kid tale. And then there is the Dragon Whisperer story as well. So 3 different sort of dip your toe in, see if you like them, tales that will be continued in comics and graphic novels coming up.
Okay. There is also Street Fighter Blanca. So this is a silent issue, but it's actually really good about he's living in the jungle when he sees a man who's apparently lost his daughter out in the jungle somewhere, and he goes out to find her and reunite her, which is a very un-Street Fighter-like story. The only real fighting in this is he does wrestle an alligator.
Does he electrocute it?
Doesn't electrocute it, doesn't spin into a ball and hit it, headbutt it, or anything. But still, it was a pretty cool issue. Great art. The Udon stuff has always got great art. So if you're a Street Fighter fan, this is great. It's also got a bonus page that has Blanca as a character through all the different games and like concept art from him and how he's changed over time. It's like, oh, this is actually a really cool issue. So if you're a Street Fighter fan, you want to check that one out.
Okay, so The Electric Black is a comic that keeps coming back with little mini-series by Black Caravan. And the premise is very Twilight Zone. The Electric Black itself is an antique shop that sells and has cursed antiques. I mean, does it get any more Twilight Zone than that? But, you know, that's not bad at all. It is updated for modern days. And so if you're into that sort of thing, sort of Twilight Zone mishaps and misadventures, you may want to check this out.
And my final one, ending on a big one. Not much to say here other than we have a Pokemon book. This is Pokemon Journeys. I believe, I'm not positive if this main story is original, but it does have a sample of a new Pokemon manga in it as well. Really fun. I am sure this is going to be one of the first ones to sell out too. Kids or teens or adults see Pokemon. Big fans. So, yep. That's another great one this year.
And my final book is Primos. Primos is a comic about these ancient Mayan warriors. One has decided to destroy humanity. The other has set it up where his ancestors will be activated and get superpowers and get to stop him, which happens in our time. So that's what it is. This is a reprint of issue number 1. It's a 4-part series. So there you have it. Whew, that's a lot of books we went through.
It's a lot of books.
So we just went over 42 different free comic book day books. I think there are like 4 or 5 more. There's always the Overstreet Guide one.
Yeah.
There's a few that we just didn't order. We just people don't pick them up from us. So, you know, with this many books, you don't have to grab them all. So we hope we have done our job in preparing you for the craziness that will be Free Comic Book Day. At our shop, we're having it this Saturday at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So people get here in the first hour, get double the free comics. So we can't wait to see you there.
Definitely check with your local store to find out. Everyone does it a little bit different.
Yes.
The number of comics you can get, the times they open, what kind of, you know, they may be doing giveaways, they may be doing sales. Everybody does something different. There's no strict way everyone has to do it. So find out from your local store. Find out from maybe a couple local stores.
Yes.
If one only offers that you can get one, well, hit a couple of stores. They would all love it. But also remember, not just because I work at a store, but buy something while you're there.
Yes,
the stores had to pay for these, even though they're free to you. And this is all about supporting local business and your local comic book store. Keep them in business and help them have a great day.
Yeah, good. Well said. These comics, they are discounted even to us. You know, we get them from anywhere from 25 cents to 50 cents an issue. Which when you multiply that by how many we give out, that's a lot of money. But worse than that, we pay shipping fees on these, and the shipping fees were crazy high this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
All right. Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. We'll be back Friday with Comics from the Future.
Yeah, let us know what you're picking up. We'd love to know what are the hot Free Comic Book Day books this year. So leave it in a comment.
Which ones you were looking forward to. All right. See you next time.
Bye.